fish.
The Sunday Papers on Off the Ball.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie. Championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
All right, you're very welcome along to our Saturday panel. It's a huge weekend in the Gaelic Football Championship. The first weekend, really, where we can say that in the Football Championship, but there's going to be some big ones over the next couple of months as the hurling sort of winds down and it all gears up in football. And I'm delighted to be joined in studio by former Dublin footballer Denis Bastick, former Sligo manager Niall Carew, and former Roscommon footballer Frankie Dolan. How are we keeping?
Good. How you doing? You're up.
You're enjoying the sun, Dennis. You should be in camp this weekend, fully focused on another Leinster final.
Drinking plenty of water. I can substitute the water now for something else this weekend with the nice weather. Yeah.
You missing it?
I miss obviously the games in Croke Park and that, but yeah, you kind of know what's going in the background, and you know that part I'm not kind of missing. But no, it's great to have some time back in my hands.
Is it only now that you've stepped away you realised how much time you actually put into it?
Complete, and not only the time, but even away from the team, is about how much everything is just geared towards, you know, performing with Dublin, you know. So what you're eating, drinking, rest, all that kind of stuff is all just geared around your training and games.
And do you feel like almost you're a different person, that you're a lot calmer around the house? If we were to go home, would they say you're a bit more chilled? You're not constantly thinking, I need enough sleep, I need enough food?
Yeah, exactly. Like it is, you know, more time at home with the kids and stuff like that, you know. It's definitely making things a lot easier around the house. Do you know what I mean?
Not for you though.
Yeah, not for me.
How many Leinster medals did you win?
I think 10.
Too many.
Yeah,
do you know where they all are?
Yeah, shoebox in the attic. That's where they all are. I plan to eventually maybe put them up on the wall.
All right. Yeah. Niall, you were involved with Sligo for what, 3 seasons?
3 seasons, yeah.
Took a step away this year. Are you missing it?
Well, I suppose this morning I was throwing in a load of turf, so I would have liked to have avoided that, but no, I'm not missing it. I suppose when you're in management, your headspace is fully taken up 7 days a week, 12 months of the year, and it's really a full-time job. I had Derek McGrath during the week talking, and he's right, it's a full-time job. You know, what the players are putting in, they need management to really rally around them and drive the whole thing on. So if you're not doing it 7 days a week, you're in trouble, but I don't miss that aspect now. Yeah,
I was talking to Sean Boylan last weekend about that, and he was saying that he got himself into a position where when he went home and he closed the door, he switched on to another part of his life, and he left football outside and he could forget about it, and when he was on football he was 100% committed and he was in that, and I just wonder if it's a generational thing, that actually maybe that was a bit more possible 15, 20 years ago and it's not anymore, or is it just a case that there's almost a pressure, everyone on the outside wants you to be on 24/7?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's media, even especially local media now, it's gone very big. Whether it's, you know, Ocean FM in Sligo or KFM, whatever it is. So they want a piece of the local papers, you know. So there's all of that. But even Dennis just saying that since he finished up, you know, he can see that it's just going up and up all the time. The commitment levels, everything, preparation, everything. That's only for a player. But when you're in management, you have to cover all them aspects, and be under no illusion if your team doesn't do well, players will come back to you and say, well, why wasn't X, Y and Z done? And Dublin have set, you know, such a high standard, and that bar is so high now that teams like Sligo are finding it very hard to catch up.
Have Dublin, and we might get into this a bit more, but do you feel as a manager of a county who would be seen in some ways as being definitely one of the second tier counties, have they set an impossible bar for a county like Sligo, that as a manager, if players are hearing what the Dubs are doing and the setup there, that actually with the sheer money involved that's needed to make that happen, you're never going to be able to deliver that? No,
and the problem with that is that you're expected to deliver that, whether it's from supporters that are unrealistic or whether it's from county boards that will give you a small pot and yet they're expecting these massive results. Now look, in saying that, Dublin are a very talented team on top of everything else, and preparation is key for that, and preparation does cost money. But, you know, I suppose you're still waiting. You know, when we beat Frankie's team Roscommon in the semi-final in Markovich, that was a massive day for the likes of Sligo. When Carlow beat Kildare this year was massive. So I suppose that's your goal and that's your bar. I think thinking of winning All Ireland is very unrealistic.
The Saturday panel brought to you this afternoon with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. We're live on all our social channels, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. And of course, if you want to get in touch with us on News Talk, 53106 is the text number. Get your comments into the lads. What's the mood been like in Roscommon then for the last week, Frankie? Are you taking your beating?
Yeah, disappointing. We went in with so much hope, I suppose, and we had plenty of chances in the second half. We went in a good position at half time, and with the conditions as well favouring us in the second half, kicking into the scoring goal, and just everything went pear-shaped. But saying that, you got to give Galway a lot of credit. They really upped their intensity in the second half. They were a bit off it in the first half. They were stepping off Roscommon, but they really pushed on in the second half and really got stuck into them man for man. And I think you could see the power and the pace and probably the skill set of the forwards really shone for Galway in the second half, particularly Shane Walsh and Ian Burke.
We're heading into a period now where actually football is going to hit centre stage with the Super 8s. We're heading into the unknown. Kind of feel that Roscommon are more than likely one of those test cases that we're going to judge how the Super 8 goes, that presuming and provided they do get there, that we need the teams like Roscommon to be able to go maybe even at the Hyde Park, bring some of the bigger teams down, give them a real game, that we can't just still have Dublin and Kerry, Mayo absolutely dominating the Super 8s, that the fact you're going to have 3 games in the space of 3-4 weeks, Roscommon needs to take advantage of that. To do it's huge, and there's big pressure on Roscommon and Kevin McStay. Kevin McStay, he's penciled in the Super 8s, and you know, they're Connacht champions last year, and all the talk was they're going to win a Connacht this year and straight into it. So that plan is gone pear-shaped now. So I hope we don't get a Mayo or a Monaghan in our next game, because anything could happen there. You know, the way I seen us play with Monaghan a few weeks ago in a challenge match in Kiltoom, and Monaghan gave us a bit of a beating, and so did Mayo in Hyde Park a couple of weeks ago as well. So they're 2 teams I think Roscommon really need to avoid to have any chance of getting into Super 8s. I saw some pictures this morning. I think it was the 07 Leinster final of Dublin against Laois, 82,000, packed house, and nerves, I would imagine, around the Dublin supporters of, are we going to get the job done? That they still hadn't reached the promised land. There'll probably be, 45,000 tomorrow. I haven't really heard anybody talking about the game. There's absolutely no nerves. In fact, if Dublin don't win this by 10 points, we might even be able to start asking questions about the Dublin side. You've been in the camp in recent years, heading into these finals. Day before the Leinster final, what are the types of messages that Jim Gavin's trying to get across to the players?
Yeah, I think the message is, no matter what game you're playing, it's a game for Dublin, you know, and I think that the final piece is trying to take away from that rather than focusing on the fact that it's a Leinster final. I think that's what the lads will be doing. It's another game, get ready, you know what the message there, you know what you're trying to do, what way you're trying to play, and it doesn't matter that it's actually a Leinster final, so kind of take away from the fact that it's a big occasion. Yeah,
did you notice even a change in yourself over the years, that a Leinster title was no longer something that maybe on the Sunday night, if they win tomorrow, when they win tomorrow, will the Dublin players go out and celebrate tomorrow night?
It's interesting because you know, you'll have the guys who'll have played, but you'll also have a part of the panel who won't have played, you know, so there'll be probably training the following week or an extra session for those guys who haven't played, so they have to make the decision, are they going to go out and party and they're going to train on the Monday or Tuesday and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
So it's but the option would be there whether the guys take it or not, and that's when you see, I suppose, you know, the commitment to the team.
Right, that's interesting. So do you get a sense then, and would you have had that sense, that Jim Gavin would reward the players that?
No, it's not a it's not a reward. It's a personal choice, you know.
Okay.
There'll be an option there for guys to I suppose let themselves go or not, and it's up to guys then whether they want to.
I think it's important that lads.
What if you want to, but you shouldn't?
You know?
yeah.
I think for the younger guys, especially what Dennis says, that maybe might be their first Leinster championship, and they're after putting 6 to 8 months of their lives on hold, and I think it's important that they do whatever they want, whether they go out for a few beers, Copperface Jacks or whatever, and back to training or a pool session on the Monday night, you know.
I just think it's so competitive with Dublin. I know what Dennis is saying, that they're looking for the edge every week. So when you're managing a team, or they're trying to impress Jim Gavin, so if they go out at the weekend, they know they have, you know, a little platform again on Tuesday night to go back training, plant a few seeds in the management head, you know, which is maybe he is stepping up, you know, and I think that's where players are caught. But I don't think them Dublin lads will go out, because I think competition is so high. They want to be on for the Super 8s. When you bring on 20 lads, Dublin probably have 32 that are very competitive and not much between them. Personally, I think they should go out for a few drinks, because if they don't, if that's what they want, but if they don't, what's it all about at the end of it? Because it is only amateur sport at the end of it. None of them boys are getting paid. Might get the odd car here and there for the year, but that's about it. So, I think they should go out, but they won't.
There was one final in particular where the mood was quite sombre and there wasn't too many guys going out, and it did cross my mind at that stage that, maybe a good night out or a good knees up together as a group would have been good,
Yeah, that you needed it.
Yeah, or that we should be doing it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an amateur setup, it's an amateur game, you have to enjoy these moments. Have Dublin almost got to the stage that there's been such continued success that it is an elite level, that actually you're not thinking like amateur players anymore, that even though you have to go out and you have to do the day job Monday to Friday, that you've got yourself into a professional mindset?
Well, we don't know what a professional mindset is, I suppose, as amateurs, but I definitely think that, the level that's there is just, it's high end. There's no really off days for any of the guys there in the group, so they can go and do their work, but I think they eat, sleep and breathe football,
What would an average week be like then, this time of the year?
Yeah, it's coming up to a game, you would have a lot of downtime. That'd be a big focus, I'm not too sure how many other teams out there, focus that much on the rest part of things. But, you'd have light sessions, you'd have short sessions, you'd be getting together a good bit, but the majority would be just fine-tuning on the week of a game.
Yeah. From Sligo's point of view, if you're preparing for a big game the week before, is it light, or are you trying to make the most of every single minute and still having to work your ass off?
Yeah, well, it has to be light, and it has to be intense as well, because you don't want to lose that edge. And teams like Sligo have to be on the front foot all the time, because Dublin know they're going to win. They have that in their locker all the time. After winning so much, they haven't been beaten in championship now in how many years? 3 or 4. So they have that there. Teams like Sligo, you always have to be very careful that you don't undercook it and that you don't overcook it. So generally what we would do is we do an intense session, but it might only last 35 minutes, just leading up to the week of the championship, to make sure that they're right mentally and physically going into it. Got it right sometimes, got it right against Roscommon, then against Mayo we overdid it. We played a challenge game. I think it was Monaghan before we played, one of them teams anyway, and beat them by 5 points, and we peaked 2 weeks before we played Mayo, and it was downhill. You could see it in training, things just wasn't right.
And what was it?
I don't know. I suppose at the time we felt that we reached a kind of a peak, that we just couldn't go on any further, and then it just came down slowly but surely, and that day against Mayo then we just were totally off the boil.
And do you sense that was a mental thing for the players, that you'd played a challenge game against a good Monaghan side, played really well, that the things that had got you to that level, suddenly they weren't, the same effort wasn't being put in? Was it that?
Yeah, they probably thought they had enough done, and we as management probably thought we were right. Mayo were
this
probably,
is ticking along nicely.
Yeah, just thought we'd enough done as well, and it was lack of experience as well, and we all know what happened then, but and there's no recovering from that. We played Tyrone then, I think it was 6 or 7 days after, and the mindset of just trying to get them back on the field and getting their heads right to play Tyrone, they didn't want to get another drumming, and that's why I feel sorry for Laois going into it. Like, the only team that's set up, I think, to get into the Super 8s is Roscommon, because they competed very well. I can't see Cork competing well against Kerry. I can't see Laois competing well, and I can't see Fermanagh competing well. I think Donegal are that step ahead of them. I know Rory will have his team set up well. You're probably going to get into that shortly, but I just think that these teams are ahead of Division 3 teams, and that drumming can just do enough, and that's why I think Kildare beat Longford well today, because I think that defeat against Dublin, it's only 2 weeks ago, it's fresh in their minds, and it's just so hard to get back up, and they've lost their full forward as well. So I think that's why Kildare got a good draw in Longford.
What's the turnaround time for beating provincial finals now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It'll be 3, but it'll be 3 weeks for Roscommon.
Yeah.
As a player, is it always the last game that the one is that's in your mind? So say Longford have done a lot of good things this season. Can you somehow put Dublin at a different level and think, forget about that, remember all the good stuff? Or is it the fact you took an almighty beating at Croke Park, that no matter what you do, mentally that's what you're thinking going into your next game?
They're not, Nathan, they're not the only team to take an almighty beating in Croke Park over the years, And I think they're such a special team, you nearly have to park it concentrate on what you've done right over the couple of months before that and concentrate on the next game and prepare right for the next game. And I know what Niall is saying, Kildare is a good draw for Kildare, but I'm not so sure. Longford down in Pearse Park, they're a tough game in the qualifiers for any team to get, and I still fancy Kildare to win, but I think it could be tight enough. You know, Longford, it's a tight ground. They'll bring a good crowd there, you know, and they'll be well up for it.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I think this Kildare team is not too bad. I think defensively there's a few questions to be asked, but I think up front they've Niall Flynn back now. I know Kildare played Dublin in a challenge game there a couple of weeks ago, competed very well against them, which is good. That's good for confidence. No matter what team Dublin put out is a good team. Trust me in that, and everyone can back that up. So I think Kildare's in the right road. Niall Flynn, if he was playing in Division 1 this year with Kildare, there's no doubt Kildare would be in Division 1. I was at 3 of the games this year. I was at the Tyrone game, the Monaghan game, and they didn't play well against Mayo, there's no doubt. But they should have beaten, actually I was at the Donegal game up in Donegal as well. They played very well against Donegal. They got a goal disallowed that, I mean, Daniel Flynn wasn't in the square. You've seen that on television that evening. They were beaten by a point. Tyrone beaten by a point and Monaghan beaten by a point. So Kildare aren't that far off. Yes, they're off Dublin, there's no doubt. But the rest, you know, and to be off Kerry, Mayo, maybe Galway. But after
they were beaten
that,
by Carlow.
Off Carlow.
They were beaten by Carlow, there's no doubt. But you have to take this in consideration. This is my thing that people forget, and this is not me with my Kildare hat. This is just common sense. Carlow had 14 shots, 14 scores. The best team in the country, Dublin, can't do that. All right? The scores they got against Kildare were all outside the scoring zone, apart from the goal they got at the end when Conor Lawler broke through and stuck it away well. Kildare missed the penalty. You know, they were without their marksman, Niall Flynn, who's a good free taker. In fairness to Keane O'Connor that day, it's not Keane, what's his name? Jack's young lad. You know, he had an off day that day. He kicked maybe 4 wides and missed the penalty. Kevin Feely was on the penalties that day. I'd blame Kevin for that. Kevin is the leader, grabbed the ball, I'm taking it, you're new into this game, let me take it, and that's it. But I can see then why Kevin let him take it. Maybe if he scored it, get his confidence up.
He's the hero.
So it was a catch-22. But I don't think this Kildare team are far off the Super 8s. And I think there's so much, I suppose, negativity in Kildare at the moment that when a fella goes in to buy a bottle of water in the shop, there's someone getting on him about Kildare football. And that's why I think it's great the games in Longford. Kildare will beat Longford by 5 or 6 points. I've worked with Ronan Sweeney as a coach, excellent coach. He was with me in Sligo for 2 years, Waterford for 1 year, super coach. He will get them right up front. Cian Neal, as we all know, is a good coach. He's proven that with Mayo. He's proven that with Kerry. Is he a good manager? We don't know. I haven't worked with him in that sense. But like the stick he got even from Tomás O'Shea in his article in The Independent the day before they played Carlow was horrendous. And that just went right through the county. So you can imagine the biggest selling newspaper in the country, all right? And you have someone with 8 All-Ireland medals hanging over his neck and he's writing this about Cian Neal. Now, I don't know Cian Neal that well. It's not that he's a friend of mine.
Tomoso is writing that because of the experience with Kerry, from everything he's hearing from inside the Kerry camp.
Yeah, but you don't have to make people feel small to make yourself look big. I just think reading that article I thought was very personal against Cian Neal. And I said, I don't know Cian that well. I'm not sticking up for Cian, but I just think a day before a game like that, I just think it was wrong. And it was wrong not to have any loyalty to one of your coaches you've worked with down the years. I mean, that should be in the house and kept to himself, I think.
Yeah, I do just wonder actually if the very fact, because generally things are kept in-house, the fact that Tomás O'Shea felt that he had to say this, that he was willing to say this, would suggest that actually there were issues and he felt very strongly about it.
Well, look, Tomás O'Shea hasn't a clue what's going on inside the Kildare camp. You know, he hasn't a clue. He's guessing.
Would you think the Kildare players read the article?
Absolutely.
Before the game?
I'd say, I'd say they would have known about it. But it was the Kildare supporters, I would feel that there was a very bad vibe, you know, and Kildare, like, everything is built on energy. You want your team full of energy. Like the Dublin supporters are I know they're winning week in, week out. But if your supporters not behind you, that transforms straight onto the pitch and you lose confidence. Then all of a sudden Daniel Flynn is kicking 5 wide instead of kicking 5 points. And it does that. But look, Cian doesn't do himself any favours. I know that, all right? But I just felt the weekend of the game, I just felt it was wrong. It is an amateur sport. He's not getting, you know, 100,000 a year or anything like that with Kildare. He's getting his expenses. I just thought it was too personal. And I think we have to get back that it is only an amateur sport at the end of it. And he would have felt that during the week. I know if some player had said that he walked away when I was talking But he wouldn't walk away, I'll put it that way. He'd be coming back to me, or he wouldn't be back on the field. Now maybe if you're Tomás O'Shea, maybe you can get away with that in Kerry. But I just felt it was very disrespectful for Cian O'Neill that weekend. I felt he got a lot of bad press. And we're on about the Gaelic football here. Like, we get very bad punditry, not here in fairness, but RT get very bad punditry with the Gaelic games. I mean, the hurling really hype up their game. But we seem to just put down our own game. It is what it is. That's our game. We can't change that. It's a counter-attacking game, whether we like it or not. You know, and you look at Dublin. Dublin get back in numbers, but straight away they're back and they're counter-attacking. They're so good at it. But of course they get back in numbers. They have to. That's the way the game has gone. But I just think that we're too quick to put down our game week in, week out. Like I heard Brawley at the Kildare game. That was a disaster of a game. There was 4 or 5 goals in it. There was 40 points. What does he want?
I was actually I was doing the game with RTE right away, but with the radio. I was just, what you're saying, you're right, like, because sometimes it's lazy journalism, and they're just listening to little feedbacks or reading newspaper articles. I looked at Galway. Galway set up in the first half that kept 4 forwards up most of the time. You know, and people were saying that they were so defensive in the first half. They weren't so defensive in the first. They still kept between 3 and 4 up. All the first half, you know, and people were saying they were defensive where they weren't in the first half. Well, they were just off the pace of the game.
I turned off the television at half time, but I couldn't listen to them. I couldn't listen to the way the two boys, Brodie and O'Rourke, were talking. They were just wanted to get a dig at Kevin Walsh. That's all it was, I felt. And they were the same with Carlow, with Poacher, when, you know, they couldn't get enough digs at him, saying that he's after telling everybody that he's after developing this great defensive plan. Like, the chap is doing very well himself in Turlock, Brian McCarlow.
But are they not reflecting what an awful lot of people who are sitting at home are saying, watching this game, that this is rubbish? This is not. So Mayo Galway was an incredibly tense game, and it was so early in the championship, and there's so much at stake. You can understand why, I suppose, Galway proved against Sligo that they can rack up a very big score pretty quickly, that it was going to be that sort of scrappy game. But it wasn't free flowing attacking football. It wasn't pure Gaelic football.
But
was it?
I think it's I think it is Gaelic football. That's the way it's gone. But you'd look at the Heineken Cup final this year with Leinster in it. I mean, it was a horrendous game. But you listen to the punditry. They were all saying, tactically, this game, you know, it's so
they grounded out.
Yeah, they really did, and tactically it was so good. It was a horrendous game to watch. But because people like us here keep telling them that it's a poor game, it's woeful, or it's like watching paint dry. I mean, at half time last year, Colin O'Rourke said at the Sligo Mayo game, we were well in that game. He said, because I went back to watch it when I went home. We're not like Dublin, these teams that have all these analysts that can give you little feedback straight onto your phone. But when I went back to watch that game, you know what Colin O'Rourke said at half time? What should Sligo do at half time? He said, pray. We're 4 points down. We had 2 good players to come on, Kevin McDonald and Niall Murphy. If he did any homework at all, he'd know there were 2 good players that were only back from injury that would make a difference, which they did. And with 4 minutes to go, there was a goal in it. And we had a half chance of a goal. If we got that, we were right in the game. And that's called competing. But these boys don't analyse the game.
But are you paying too much attention to it? And we've had this about the World Cup. Ultimately, it's entertainment. So the punditry side of it, and I do at times think some of the criticism of even the evening show and the Sunday game is overblown, because they're appealing to a mass audience. So there are places, like here in many podcasts and various different shows, where they will go in depth and spend half an hour, 40 minutes talking about one game. They don't have that opportunity. At half time in a match, they have 2 minutes each to make one quick point. Granted, they could probably spend more time and do a bit of a tactical breakdown. Yeah, but you remember exactly what they said. So in many ways, I would say if I'm the head of sport in RTE, I'm quite pleased. We're still talking about them here.
It doesn't mean it's right though, because and Frankie touched on it there, it's lazy. Like it is, like whether we like it or not. They need to know exactly, you know, every player in the hub. You look at Sky Sports. I mean, they've managed teams. Like you look at Peter Canavan, Horn is in there. They've managed teams. They know exactly. They've played. They've managed to know exactly what's happening there. Like Frankie's managing St. Bridget's, his own team, so he knows exactly. So if he was analysing the game, he can see it from both sides. You know, like, and that's why you have to admire Kevin McStay, that obviously left good salary there to go and manage Roscommon. Like he got off. He's behind, and he said, "Yeah, let's give it a go."
But Colin O'Rourke is involved in the club game. Brawley's here, there, and everywhere. They're out. They're watching. Like they're watching games. They are seeing things.
Yeah, but they're not giving a true reflection of what's happening. I don't think they are anyway. That's only my opinion. And look, I was wrong once before.
I think that there's maybe room to go a bit more tactical on what you're saying. I think there's definitely scope there. Now that's hard because when you're watching a game, you kind of get caught up in the emotions and the scores and different things like that. But I think if you look at it at a high level, I think people are out there now watching sport are more educated. So you know, to come up with some stats or some high level stuff for how people are setting up, I think that'd be a good nugget to give people a half time and how a team may change or might not change.
I don't think it's up for debate that the GAA and Gaelic football has been underserved by the level of analysis on television. You would have to wonder why there's not an Against the Head style show on a Monday night that doesn't just show here's 30 seconds, here's one score from, and quite often even if you watch the full game during the afternoon and you watch the highlights that night, you'll end up missing 3 or 4 of what you would have felt were the key pieces.
And it takes hours to break down a game. It's very hard to do it in the space of 5-10 minutes.
Well, God help whoever's on the Sunday game tomorrow night when you have 11 different football matches to sit down and try and break it down. We're going to take a very quick break. The Saturday panel brought to you this afternoon with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. Belgium have gone 3-1 up against Tunisia at the World Cup. We'll be across to Russia throughout the afternoon. Denis Bastick, Niall Carew and Frankie Dolan with us in studio. 53106 is the text number.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
Join the conversation at newstalk.com.
Don't miss your chance to save this summer with the Harvey Norman half-yearly clearance now on, with massive discounts and unmissable deals across our huge range of sofas and dining furniture, like dining tables from a low $145, recliner sofas from $499. Save up to 50% on corner sofas and up to 40% off dining furniture. Unbelievable value in store and online. The Harvey Norman half-yearly clearance now on, while stocks last.
Go, Harvey, go!
In today's world of stress and distraction, our health is being challenged like never before. Now, more than ever, we need a space to breathe, nourish and reawaken. Soul Space is that space. A synergy of heartfelt conversations and workshops delivered by leading minds in health and performance. Join me, Jerry Hussey, and a host of inspiring speakers in Claregalway Castle, September 22nd. Start your journey at soulspace.ie.
Proudly supported by Newstalk.
In Athlone, you're at the heart of summer fun. Climb Ireland's most fortified castle, cycle Ireland's newest greenway, celebrate with a pint in Ireland's oldest pub, and still you've barely scratched the surface. I'm Viking Mike, and for great summer days and nights in Athlone's lakelands, you're at the heart of it. For all there is to see and do, visit athlone.ie.
Cirque du Soleil returns to Ireland with a brand new show, OVO, at 3 Arena Dublin, October 10th to 14th. Discover a world of insects teeming with amazement, joy, and unstoppable energy. Cirque du Soleil, OVO, at 3 Arena Dublin. Tickets from $40.05 on sale now. Additional charges may apply. Official sponsor, Skoda.
Every ultimate experience Ireland has to offer is always within reach with a 182 BMW. The ultimate bowl of chowder, seasoned with Atlantic salt air, the ultimate swim spot, even the ultimate scenic shortcut that happily takes way, way longer. Experience the ultimate with a 24-hour test drive from your local BMW retailer. Because owning your new BMW is always within reach. Visit bmw182.ie.
Enjoy your independent time this Saturday. The Queen of Cakes, Mary Berry, talks to Weekend and gives delicious recipes from her new book, Fast Bakes, including marble tray bake, strawberry tarts and orange walnut loaf. The referendum sparked a wave of political activism among women. Review meets the would-be female politicians planning to battle the sea of suits. And in sport, ahead of the series clincher Down Under, Alan Quinlan says Ireland's Mr. Turnover, Peter O'Mahony, is the man who can cut the Aussies down to size. Irish Independent on Saturday. It's your weekend.
Bruce Betting are one of Ireland's leading bookmakers. Download the iOS app today to see why Bruce Betting are giving you more for World Cup 2018. Bruce Betting, your World Cup bookmaker. In store, online, and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
1,500 coolers ready to hire from HSS Hire. Get up up to 50% off a range of cooling fans, air conditioners and coolers, perfect for domestic, retail and industrial use. Call us today on 1800 22 33 66. Visit hss.ie or drop into one of our branches nationwide. HSS Hire, you're better equipped.
When summer comes, water calls. Friends and families. Lakes, rivers and beautiful beaches. Joy, freedom, fun. But water hides dangers. Rip currents, cold water shock, slippery rocks, unexpected depths. In seconds, water can steal a life. I'm Liam Neeson for Irish Water Safety. This is National Water Safety Awareness Week. Let's bring the number of drownings in Ireland down. For tips and advice, visit iws.ie.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
You're very welcome back to our Saturday panel, joined in the studio by Denis Bastick, Niall Carew and Frankie Dolan. We're live on all our social channels, facebook.com/offtheball, youtube.com/offtheball, and on Twitter as well. 53106 is the text number. We're getting a lot of reaction. We'll get into quite a few of the text messages. Just on the Keane O'Neill situation then, and articles maybe affecting the camp. Like, we talk about Dublin a lot. Everybody talks about Dublin a lot. And because they're almost so metronomic in their brilliance and turn up week after week and are so good, we sort of have to look elsewhere as to why and question everything and anything. Were you ever affected by anything that was said about you? Anything you read in the week of a game?
Yeah, no, like I kind of had to learn throughout my career that the right thing to do is not to pick up the paper, and that's really difficult. And sometimes your own family are the worst, you know. They'll say, well, did you see that or did you see that? And you purposely didn't, read the paper or go near it, and then you have them in your ear telling you, know. But, like, there's no benefit to a player reading anything the week of a game. They need to surround themselves with the team and the management and the other players and just focus on that game completely, rather than what someone else's opinion, which doesn't really matter to the grand scheme of things.
When you're down around Templeogue then, the week of a game, are people coming up? Do people want to talk football, or do they sort of understand?
Yeah, it's kind of head down the week of the game, you know. You're not actively out looking for, pats on the back or support, you know. It's
arriving into the pub. I'm here, lads.
Big game on Sunday. Tell me how good I am.
I need a confidence boost.
Yeah. No, it's quite the opposite. You know, you try and meet up with the team. You try and have lunch or do your recovery session, go to the pool. You try and surround yourself with the other guys who are on the same wavelength as you, and that's the best, I think, preparation for the game.
I think you're more comfortable. Sorry, Frank. I think you're more comfortable. Like when you're at home, you're on edge, whether you're in management or a player. But the minute you get back into your group, whether it's training, whether it's a couple of hours before the game or the night before, if you're staying over, you're at ease then. You're really at ease. I think outside of camp, I think you're under pressure. You feel more tense. But once you get back into your group, I find it way more relaxing. I don't know about you guys, whether...
But the thing, I suppose, lucky when I was playing, the social media was non-existent, but nowadays it must be so hard for the county players. You have so much social media. It's easy enough avoid newspapers. You pick up your phone and next thing, bang, you're tagged in something this lad's after saying about you or something. It must be very difficult for county players nowadays.
Absolutely. LeBron James goes 0 dark 30, doesn't he? Yeah. Just switches it all off.
Would you have got advice on that when you're having your team meetings at various stages as to how you handle social media?
It's tricky because it's growing so much, and there's so many different apps and whatnot now fellas can be on, and I think the advice, I think it more comes from the players within, that like you're not going to get any benefit to try and step away from it if you can and stuff like that, because there's keyboard warriors out there that just
well, people generally don't go online to compliment you.
Yeah. Exactly. You're not reading out too many.
I'll get to them, don't worry. I just want to wait till you're walking out the door before we get into them.
Maybe we're gone.
Yeah.
Did you read a lot of papers then, Niall? Were you affected by what was said?
No, like I was more, I suppose I was trying to promote Sligo as much as I could, and I took on an article on the Sligo champion really because Eamon O'Hara was writing at the time, and every week he was lambasting us for no reason. Absolutely none. So I went to the Sligo champion and I said to them, look, it's not good enough. I said, I'm trying to promote the whole thing. I need good energy around these lads to drive the whole thing on. So I took that article on myself and I wrote it every week. But I told people exactly what was happening, in camp. But you told them you didn't tell them everything, but you told them facts, you told them the truth. So they knew then, under no illusion, what was happening. You know.
But that's a different thing from Eamon O'Hara giving his opinion on what he's seeing. It feels as though big controversy over the last 24 hours with regards to the England football team and whether or not the media should have printed Steve Holland having the team and that it wasn't in the national interest. Ultimately, they'd been very open with the English media. They'd given him access to all 23 players, and this is how they rewarded. But it was a training session that was ultimately, they're let in for 50 minutes to video it.
Yeah.
The information is there. And I know it's very, very divisive. People think actually you're granted the opportunity to go in, you should respect that. But ultimately, the journalist's job is to print the news, what they see, they saw it, they do it. And also with newspapers, like Eamon O'Hara is entitled to, you may not like it, and chances are you're not going to like it. But surely
but if it's untrue, then, I mean, it's not good for the whole vibe around a team like Sligo or any team. Like, it's my job to make sure that there's good vibes, good energy for my team going forward.
But it's not the Sligo champions' job, or it's not Eamon O'Hara's job.
No, but if I can control that, I will. No more than Jim Gavin will control everything in Dublin. He will make sure that he has everything. You know, he didn't talk to RT, and rightly so, for a couple of months there. You know, and he was that was a good stance, and everyone got behind him. The whole county got behind him. You know, but he
there would have been Dublin players in the past, maybe writing comments and articles that weren't beneficial to the team as well, though. You know.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to control that, I think.
No, it is difficult. But if you can control it, you should as a manager, because if it's affecting, you know, the whole vibe around your team, I think it's important. Look, I mean, most managers are control freaks. That's what we do. You have to be, in order to get the best out of your team.
But also, RTE and Newstalk, and we should feel as though we can comment on Dublin in a fair way. But people have to make presumptions. They have to at times assume things, because we're not at Dublin training. We're not there every week. So you write something, you say something. If Jim Gavin wants to come out and counter it, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. He should do that. But to actually then go ahead and not speak to you for 6 months because he's not happy with the tone of things, I
think that was more over the Dermot Connolly thing. You know, more than that. You know, and I think he was right. I mean, there'd be no point in me doing it because I wouldn't be high profile like Jim Gavin. But I think it didn't do them any harm. He's only worried about what happens in Dublin.
No, ultimately they won the All Ireland.
Yeah.
But I do think having the most high profile football manager in the country not speaking to the national broadcaster isn't a good thing for supporters. And Jim's a genius at not really saying anything anyway, so maybe at times we're not losing out a huge amount. But Jim, and again, we're having to presume and assume.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Jim was obviously annoyed at what happened with Dermot Connolly. Yeah. He didn't play him for the vast majority of games until they needed him in the All-Ireland final. So he's not happy that RTE are making a case of it, he clearly wasn't happy himself as well.
Yeah, but all I'm saying, I could see where he was coming from, you know, and I think it worked for him because they won the All-Ireland. And I'm not here to stick up for Jim Gavin. He doesn't need me to stick up for him.
Did Eamon O'Hara continue writing his?
No.
You see, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right.
I got him sacked, but I took it on. So that was it.
But you're not giving it on. You're giving your side.
I'm telling the facts.
As you see them.
Sure, it is facts. I'm telling them as it is.
But you just said a second ago that you wouldn't. You tell them what you wanted them to know. You wouldn't say absolutely everything.
They're all facts. I'm telling them. I'm not telling them like fibs or anything like that. I'm telling them as it is.
Yeah, people want to have a good read too. If you're giving, say, the information's not as exciting.
I thought it was very good journalist. And look, I enjoyed it as well because it was therapy for myself as well. Like, say, for example, we found it hard to get money together, right, for training camps, and the Sligo players were so good to fundraise themselves. I mean, they literally had to get out and fundraise. Like, in fairness to the likes of Dublin, they turn up at an event, and that's enough. But the Sligo players nearly have to be like sales reps. You know what I mean? They really have to go and sell their product to get money in from small businesses. But say, for example, we were in a training camp. Like, the soundings I was getting from county board and at club meetings, say, was they thought the training camp was going to be, I suppose, a piss-up, which was never going to be the case. I explained exactly what happened for that weekend in a training camp, what we did from start to finish. You know, without telling what way we set up for the next game or anything like that. That's all it was. Because you have to remember, we're in a privileged position. We're in that bubble. We know exactly what happens. But people from the outside have no idea what happens in inter-county scene.
Well, Eamon O'Hara played for Sligo for 15 years. He knows exactly what's happening in the inter-county
scene. Not my regime. No, he didn't know what was happening in my regime because if you've seen what he wrote.
Did you want your players to read your article then?
No, it was more, Dennis, for me, it was more trying to get a good energy feeling with my players. That's all it was, to have the whole county behind them. You know, that's all it was, to drive the whole thing on. Because, look, in the likes of Sligo, you're competing with soccer, with Sligo Rovers, you're competing with Connacht Rugby, you know, so you have that there. And I know other counties are the same, but you just need everyone behind you. And if you don't, it's going to be an impossible task as a manager to get your players in the right state of mind.
Yeah, I just think at times maybe people take these things to heart too much, because I do actually remember we had a conversation about something Ger said about Mayo Sligo, and you were and he said, I think we were doing as we often do.
And I was wrong. I phoned Ger and I spoke to him, because that was just off the cuff. And in fairness to News Talk, you were very, and Ger put me in my place that time. But this was a private conversation we had, in fairness to him. Two Kildare men, we were okay. But in fairness to Ger, he gave me his side of it, and I said, yeah, okay, you're right. You know, but at least I could phone him and tell him, and we, you know, we agreed to disagree, but we moved on and everything was sound in that then. But no, look, that's, you can get a bit sensitive, because they're your players, like they're your family, and you're leading that, you're trying to drive the whole thing on. So anything negative, you will take it personally.
But I just wonder, if you're affected by it, how can you expect your players not to be? If they're seeing that you're getting annoyed at the media coverage, how do you expect them to take a completely different tack and blank it out?
I wouldn't be telling the players I'm annoyed. I'd keep that personal to myself. I wouldn't be going into the dressing room and saying, "Did you see what Eamon O'Hara wrote, or did you see what Joe Bradley said?" Right? That doesn't come into it. But I do know it affects outside when the players go home, because they're high-profile people. I know it will affect them going back to train. They will hear it, and it does take it down a notch or two for energy levels. Like my motto in anything in life, it's all built around energy. But if your energy levels are low, and that's why if Kildare can build up their energy levels, get over Longford, that's 2 in a row, you know, because there was all the hype. Everyone did it. The media did it. Kildare haven't won a game in 12 months. No matter where you looked, it was on your phone, it was on the paper.
But it's true.
Yeah, absolutely true. But I'm saying that's all negative energy for the players. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have to go and win a game then, obviously, to stop the rot. You know, there's that in it. But if you can control anything like that, you will. You'll do everything you can to make sure that you have what's best for your team.
Were you aware of, and I said Jim Gavin is brilliant, very like Joe Schmidt in many ways, of controlling his message, and you'd see him at times in the tunnel at Croke Park, he's talking to statistics people, so he has his facts in front of him when he goes and speaks to RTE. As a player at times, if you were watching and you saw his interviews, would you be looking for deeper meanings to things?
Not really, no. It's he's going to say whatever he says, and you know, unless you mentioned your own name, you wouldn't really take it with a pinch of salt. Everything is just geared around what's behind the closed doors, really. Anything outside of that doesn't really matter. I can see what you were trying to do. Maybe there's other ways of getting that positive energy in around the county or with the team. So getting the team together or doing different events and things like that. I don't know.
You do all of that anyway. But the biggest thing, what I was trying to promote in Sligo was we had got to a Connacht final. You know, I really thought that we could get to the last 8. That was our goal. You know, once you avoided the big guns, I felt we had the players to do it. But you needed everyone behind you. You needed a county board behind you. You needed all the clubs behind you, because it's such a small county. And that's why it likes Roscommon. You know, our boxing way above their weight. So are Monaghan. You know, with small picks, in fairness to them. Like, and we can give out, like, I don't know, is there 60 or 70,000 in Roscommon? If there is,
yeah.
You know, and the same with Monaghan. And they're really boxing above their weight to compete. With the likes, and that's why it is. That's why Kildare are getting negative press, because it is a big county, and we should be probably better than what we are.
Sometimes you can use that as a positive as well. I'm manager myself, and you might pick up the paper and you'd say it into training. Say, lads, there you go. You know, what are you going to do about that? You know, and then I'd be saying to my senior players, the captains, I said, lads, it's up to you now to sort this out. Go out on the pitch and sort it out. Win the game.
We're just at the Dublin of Roscommon. You've the pick of all the best players.
We're down 23 players at the moment, Nathan. So,
because they're all playing for the county, they're so good.
Well, we've 15 up, yeah. But it's 4 months nearly since. Well, it'll be 4 months between our 2 championship matches. So, but like, listen, you can use it as a positive. It says, you know, not everything you have to take to heart. You know, you can throw pinch of salt at it. You know, forget about it. You know, and like you're in your own little bubble, as you say. You know, it's up to your senior players to say, right to the young lads, pass no heed and whatever has been written, or just we're here. We'll train. We'll do what the manager says, the coaching staff, and we see where it takes us.
Did that work for you as a player? Because there was always so much expectation.
Yeah, well, I used negativity as a positive in my own head. I was going out and I say, right, I'm going to shove it where the sun doesn't shine, you know, and you go out and you try and play the best you can for yourself and the team. And sometimes it worked great, sometimes it didn't work, you know. But that's the way I use it as a positive, and then try and get back at them, look them in the eye, and say, all right, are you going to write it next week? You know?
Yeah, I know.
Give it your best shot.
And Nathan, just don't be thinking that I was spending all my time worried about all these boys. That's only a small part of it. But I can say it all now because I'm not manager, and it's not going to affect Sligo, you know. I'm training the team in Palatine and Carlin now, and it's so much more relaxing. There's no one cares about you in terms of your team. It's only, you know, it's a club thing, and we spoke about that, and Dennis was saying too, it's a lot more relaxing, and you know, they're miles apart, club and county.
Are you playing 15 men behind the ball down in that club?
I was listening to KCLR, and they've had some things to say about Palatine and the way they're setting up in games.
No. But, we never played 15 behind the ball anyway. But and my teams don't play that, and maybe it could be naive sometimes as well in that. But look, I just think you have to control what you can control as much as you can, when you're a manager, to make sure you get what's best for your players. It's only a small part of it, but it's all these little small things that add up at the end of it, and if that's 0.2%, which that's all it would be, that could get you over the line to get you into the next phase.
I think Jim Gavin is a genius at it too, because Dublin are winning nearly all their games the last few years, and the supporters are all behind them, all behind the team. But if Dublin were losing a couple of games and Jim isn't talking to whoever, you know, then the supporters will say, right, why isn't Jim talking? Why isn't he saying this? You know, so at the moment it's great for Jim Gavin. Jim can do what he wants. He can control everything.
I guess in many ways the issue with Dublin over the last few years would have been the opposite. It's making sure the players don't get ahead of themselves. It's not reading criticism, because there's so many compliments, everyone talking about, are they the greatest team we've ever seen?
Well, during the noughties there was a lot of expectation to win All Irelands each year, and the team, you know, was probably unfounded for that expectation to be there from the supporters and stuff like that. So it was only afterwards, that after the wins, that I suppose they were able to match expectation with going on and doing it. So
looking at tomorrow's game then, and again the expectation that Dublin will win that game, but we hear all the time that training games may be as important as championship games at this time of the year, and I'm thinking of somebody particularly, we spoke to Mossy Quinn about this, and there's like Michael Darragh McCauley, who's come in, seems to be totally rejuvenated, is getting rewarded with his place in the team, but Keane O'Sullivan is back now. James McCarthy may have to revert to midfield. From being around the squad and been in that sort of position at times that Michael Darragh was in, how does Jim handle a player like that? Because I guess he's such a good example for younger players in the squad that if you put your head down, I will give you a chance. But ultimately, when it comes to the biggest games, he may not quite be there in the 15.
Yeah, look, it's from a player, I think, and definitely within the camp, it's to try and stay injury free. You know, that you have to be injury free to be available to train every session and to play every challenge or every game that there is. And I suppose for Michael Darragh then going through the tough year last year was majority of it was injury based, where he missed out on the year and wasn't available for selection, and that ruled out his chances of getting more game time. So I think he's come out and said that this year he's been lucky enough that he's had injury free, and then you're in the shop window, and that's for any player. I think that's the big thing is just to try and stay injury free and try and get to a high performance level, and then you're in with a shout.
The Dublin team is out. Stephen Cluxton has selected himself. He has he's passed himself fit. Is
that the team that's out, or the team's going to start?
Well, this is what you can answer that. Dublin don't do that kind of thing, do they?
Yeah, obviously there was a couple of guys changed at half time last week, so you know, I think maybe there could be a couple of changes.
Do Evan Comerford and Stephen Cluxton totally work in tandem, that Comerford is whatever Stephen Cluxton knows, Comerford knows? Is that how it works at training?
Oh, yeah, there'd be,
without obviously having any of the experience.
There'd be no secrets around. Stephen wouldn't be holding anything back, but no, they work together as a group, and then obviously with the larger group and needs be. Yeah.
So we've 3 provincial finals this weekend. We've Cork, Kerry tonight. Dublin are going for 8 in a row. Kerry are going for 6 in a row. We were saying earlier that we'll probably get a far better sense, Niall, of where these two teams are, because Cork surprised a lot of people with the manner of the win over Tipperary, whereas Kerry they blew Clare away. There's so much excitement about their forward line. What's your sense of where these two teams actually are?
Yeah, I suppose Cork, you have to remember they were out the Nemo players for the league campaign and did a couple of injuries, so they're probably in a better place. I think Kerry, the 2 minors from last year, O'Shea And the 4 goal, it was at 4 or 5 goals. What's his name got last year as well? Comfort, yeah, exactly. So they're 2 massive players that Kerry have brought in, say, this year, for example. So I think Kerry haven't got a goal. I just reading a few bits this morning. I don't think Kerry have got a goal in the last 4 or 5 games in the league, and they scored 30 points against Clare. So they haven't got a goal. So I think Kerry are probably due 2 or 3 goals. Now, fear for Cork, you know, with that forward line Kerry have tonight. Tipperary, I was talking to Pascal Keenan, who was working as a coach with Tipperary footballers, chatting there last week, and he was just saying the difference between the league game and the championship game was that Tipperary scored their goal opportunities against Cork in the league and they missed them against Cork. And even though the result looked, he said it was a similar game,
right?
Except Tipperary didn't finish. That's the only reason. So I'd fear for Cork. I think this Kerry team, you know, I think they're right up there to challenge. No one's near Dublin yet. I think Dublin are probably 5 or 6 points ahead of everyone at the moment. I think Kerry will win this by 5 or 6 tonight myself.
See, there must have always been a positive energy in the Dublin camp, and that's all you hear every week.
Exactly, yeah.
5 or 6 points, 5 or 6 points. Yeah. The closest game then perhaps might be the Fermanagh-Donegal, even if it's because it's a low-scoring game and Fermanagh get a lot of men back and try and frustrate the life out of them and basically repeat the trick against Monaghan. Have they shown their hand now, Frankie, that this is exactly what they're about? Enda McGinley was on saying this is going to be a big mental test for Donegal to keep their patience, to do the right thing at the right time and just wait for your moment to pick for your
Donegal got their wake-up call when Fermanagh beat Monaghan. And I'd imagine that's the way Gallagher will have them set up again. They'll bring them all behind the ball. But one thing that Declan Bonner's brought in this year is they're shooting the lights out. I think they've scored 6 goals and 50-something points in the last 3 championship games. And the fear you'd have for Fermanagh, if Donegal start quick and get the score up, what do Fermanagh do? Do they keep sitting behind the ball? Do you know, if they do, happy days for Donegal. But if they start breaking out, start losing their shape, Donegal will pick them off. You know, you have Murphy, McBrearty, McNeilis, you know, some serious firepower up front. And I have a feeling Donegal 6-7 points will win this game tomorrow.
Donegal should be used to playing against that style anyway over the last few years. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, so yeah, you definitely think firepower. Look, but Gallagher will have the inside track on a lot of the guys too. So
I think that's very important. I know Sligo played Kildare, and just going back to your own experience, we played Kildare in the National League. We were very confident because we had a very good handle, myself and Ronan Sweeney, on Kildare. We just knew them inside out, and it is, you know, it is an advantage. There's no doubt. But I just think, as Frankie said there, that Donegal have too much firepower up front, and if you're going to, you know, for them to, you know, to have that shot 35, 40 yards. Donegal seem to have 3 or 4 players that can score outside the honeypot there. So, yeah, I agree with Frankie in that. I think Donegal by 6 or 7 myself.
Westmeath a couple of years back, they went very defensive against Dublin and, well, kept the scoreline reasonable until half-time, and then Dublin kicked on. But it's hard to think of a team that disrupted Dublin in a Leinster Championship game over the last 5-6 years. I don't know if you can think of any match that stands out where there was even moments where you felt someone was trying something a little bit different, that mentally you were a bit stretched.
You'd have to go back probably, maybe 7, 8, 9 years. Yeah, Wexford troubles was close with Kildare. We had a final with Kildare there. Bernard Brogan got a free at the end.
Semi-final, yeah.
Semi-final.
That's right, yeah. Free.
So say you were still in charge of Sligo and you get to the Super 8s and you end up having to play Dublin up at Croke Park. What would you do?
Yeah, but look, I mean, we were similar to what we did against Mayo last year. Obviously, you have to get your matchups, you know, as close as you can. The problem with matchups is that Dublin
individually are better.
You know, like there's no doubt in terms of their scoring power. Normally, forwards of that level, Division 2 and 3 standard, there's 2 or 3 stand out that you will try and put your best man markers on them. But like generally, if you're playing Dublin, Mayo, you have to do what Mayo did the last couple of years, is that Mayo stepped back. They made sure that Dublin didn't break out at pace, to track them, and Dublin are very good at it too. They push them right back, get back onto the 50 and you push out, but you really have to make contact. If you're letting Dublin storm through, or Mayo for that matter, you really have to be physical. But the problem with that is you really need physical men to do that. Now, I thought we did very well against Mayo last year. I really thought we stopped them. Keegan and these boys and Colin Boyle driving through. We had to meet them physically. Our lads had to be quite brave and aware, and I got them to compete. If you're playing Dublin, you have to be very physical, whether you like it or not, because these boys will run through you all day, and they have the ability to kick left and right at their leisure. So if you're not physical, you're going to be under pressure straight away.
I think the big difference is that can a team do that for 80 minutes?
Absolutely, that's I agree with that, but you have to do it. And that's how Mayo competed with Dublin. They really were physical, just about within the law of the game. But Dublin are too. Dublin won't let you saunter through. You know, you'll know once you pass the 50 there, you're going to be met, and rightly so. But I felt Longford were a bit shy for a period, and then they stepped up the physicality with them for 10 or 15 minutes, and they were in the game. They kicked maybe 4 or 5 points. So, but that's the problem, that you won't do it. You won't have 20 players. Period, Longford or Sligo won't have 20 players to do that. And that's
I think Mayo are the only team at the moment, even though they're in the qualifiers, that can go toe-to-toe with Dublin. They have the players, they have the Aidan O'Shea's, the Seamus O'Shea's, the Lee Keegans, the Colin Boys. They've got really seasoned players. They're very strong, mentally very strong as well, to keep coming back. And they pushed Dublin the last couple of years in All-Ireland finals. And to me, I think they're still the team that have a chance to maybe turn them over. There was only a kick of a ball in it the last couple of years. But like Dublin are still out there. There's the physicality. But even saying physicality, their movement with the ball, their kicking with the ball, their skills with the ball, it's so far ahead of nearly every team in the country. You know, they do so much right with the ball. You know, it's not just the size of the men, but look, they can score from goalkeeper up to 15. Everybody can score from cornerback, Stephen Cluxton. You know, they have the full package.
How different was Dublin's style of play in your last year from when Jim Gavin first took over?
Yeah, we tweaked it a bit, all right. So
were you scoring?
I scored a few, not much.
Tell us now, aren't you?
No, like 13, obviously it's, he came in first. We got some youth in the team then as well, come up from the under-21s, and it was all out, just go for it, you know. And we backed ourselves.
That was the message.
That was the message. Well, not as simple as that, but backing yourselves to go man on man, and who's going to go man on man, and then it's, you know, it's a 15 or 15, and we'll score more than you. Obviously, it's well documented what happened in 2014. There was flaws in that system. We were found out, and then so the tweaking started coming then after that, you know.
How involved is Jason Sherlock in training then?
Yeah, he came in as a forwards coach there a number of years ago, so he'd be very much hands-on with the forwards. And Frankie mentioned there about the movement and things like that. I don't think he can work with, say, 1 or 2 guys as a forward. It's the whole 6 and maybe the 2 or 3 that are coming into it. There needs to be, I suppose, some continuity or people knowing exactly if one guy's going one way, where the other guy's going. And I think that's where you see Dublin, you know, creating these pockets of space and getting lads free. It's because they're working as a unit.
Yeah, and the other side of it too, and this is something that I suppose as coaches, Frankie and I will be telling our own players, is that you should know who the kickers are. Like, we all know who carries the ball, we all know who kicks the ball. So you should know exactly and have a big relationship with that person out the field in the middle 8, that you know he's a good kicker of the ball, 30, 40 yards, you know he's going to run with it. So, you know, to be clever with your runs and things like that. And it's all about continuity and getting the whole thing right.
In the first of the weekend's qualifiers, Monaghan in control already. They lead Waterford by 1-9 to 3 points. Conor McManus with a penalty, 25 minutes gone in that one. Text in from KP in Dungarvan. Here in Waterford, our young players have always taken hidings from Cork and Kerry. It's a credit to all those players and coaches down through the years that they still muster minor and under 21 panels every year. What's needed is more support from the County Board in Croke Park in terms of funding and structuring of competitions. There's also an onus on clubs in Waterford to ensure that football is given as much priority as hurling for kids. Gives kids the opportunity to develop broader skills and interests which will benefit adult football in the county. Good luck to the seniors, which hasn't done them much good. I guess if we were to talk to hurlers in Roscommon, would they have the same complaint?
Yeah, well, they're complaining as well, I see, but hurling is so far down the pecking order, you know, and it's like Kilkenny. Look at the football in Kilkenny, it's non-existent, and I don't know how you fix that. I think it's nearly impossible.
No, it's tough. I was at Waterford for 2 years, and we had a core of players. We ended up having only 21 players leading into the Galway qualifier. Kerry gave us a drum, and it was 6-4 at half time. We felt that we did very well, and then what Kerry did was to give us the ball, which we weren't expecting that. We just wanted to counter attack, and it served us well because Kerry were hitting Donaghy with the crossfield ball, and we cut that out. And we felt at the time there could have been a one-trick pony because they were getting all their scores from that. But in the second half, they literally gave us the ball, and our lads kept giving it away and then just counter-attacked and they hammered us. You know, beat us by maybe 22 or 3 points. But the second, I suppose about 10 lads dropped after that, and we went to play Galway then in Salt Hill. And we really had a good training camp for 3 days. Everyone was behind us. Fairness to players, fundraised their own thing for the training camp. We got everything right. Galway weren't going well at the time in 2012. We were 2 points up with a minute to go, and Sean Armstrong got a goal to beat us by a point. They were that close. Now, would they build on that again? I don't know. But they beat Wexford this year, which was a good result for them. But I know there's Stradbally players, which is a strong club in Waterford, are not playing with them. Like, you know, you're looking at like Shane Ahern, lads that are very good players that would give Gary Brandon his belly full. You know, we drew with Clare maybe in 2013. It was a great ding-dong battle. Tony Gray and these lads, you know, and they're not playing now with Waterford. So
there is actually a divide I know in Roscommon that if you have a dual club and the hurlers don't want the young guys playing football. Yeah. I know that for a fact. Yeah. So like, it's how do you manage that? It's next to near impossible when you have that bickering going on in clubs. And then how do you
pick from in the first place?
Sorry?
You have a small pool to pick from in the first place.
Well, we've only 12 senior teams in Roscommon. That's football. I don't know what it is in hurling. I say it could be half that.
Yeah. Is Kerry an example of, you know, where the hurling's after blossoming in the last few years come out of there?
Kerry were never too bad in the hurling. They were always kind of thereabouts. Like I played with Kildare hurlers for a few years, and there's no doubt, you know, it's a big difference playing with Kildare hurlers and Kildare footballers in terms of the crowd. There might be 200 at your hurling game, and there'd be only, if you look at the games today, the 3 finals that are on in Crow Park, there probably won't be 5,000 at the 3 of them. You know, and that's my fear. If you go down the B and C route in football, that at the end of it, they won't even get a live game players in Sligo or Laois, or, you know, they're all going to be playing B and C. And in fairness, it's not sexy enough for radio programs, TV programs to cover them. It's not. What do we like?
I think it costs a lot of money. If you're going into the likes of Waterford, as that person text in there, you nearly have to start with under 6s, under 8s, and put massive money, massive backing into it, coach, and try and develop them.
You don't see the fruits of that for 20 years.
But that's it. But someone has to have the outlook as see, could they do it?
I think it has to be sexy to play with your county, and I agree, it has to be Waterford though from the top down. I think there has to be aspirations to play with your county first. But say, like, when I was in Sligo, we had a couple of live games every year, which was great for players, you know, they were on the big stage. When you go with Waterford, there'd be no such thing as a live game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they are, but I think if you water the whole thing from the top down, you'd have a chance. And you have to obviously look after the underage too. And hopefully it might be 10 years rather than 20.
A tweet in from MJ Tierney, former Laois player, says, can't agree with Niall Carew and Tomás O'Shea. With the progress Kildare have made and the young talent at his disposal, O'Neill had to take the slack over the Carlow loss and performances this year. Poor management can't go left unchecked.
Yeah, well, look, I suppose if you look at the record, I mean, Division 3 to Division 1 and then back down to Division 2, losing a couple of games by a point. I'm not here to defend Cian O'Neill. I'm just giving my opinion on it. As a manager, I just felt it was uncalled for. Don't worry, they got plenty of stick from everyone all over the country, so I don't think it went unnoticed. I just felt you don't have to get personal. You can say exactly as it is, but don't be getting personal with it. That's all I'm saying.
Monaghan have the second goal. They lead Waterford by 2-10 to 4 points. Carl O'Connell with the second goal there. Thanks a lot for coming in. Denis Bastick, Niall Carew, Frankie Dolan on our Saturday panel. Belgium 4-1 up against Tunisia. 15 minutes left in their game at the World Cup. And it is to Russia we're going next. Quick break and then we're going to be talking to Kevin Kilban.
Off the ball on News Talk. Bobby's Late Breakfast.
We'll have both Irish and English musical royalty on the show this Sunday when I speak to Finglas's favourite musical sons, Aslan. And then, after a hop over the channel to the great Richard Thompson, who many consider the greatest living guitarist. We'll have wild food courtesy of the Wild Honey Inn, the first pub in Ireland to be awarded a Michelin star, and there's a reggae exodus in the cultural toolbox.
Bobby's Late Breakfast.
Join me this Sunday morning from 9 and let me ease you into your Sunday.
On News Talk.
At Centra, we're celebrating summer with fantastic offers across the store. Get grilling with mix and match barbecue meats, 3 for €10. Pringles selected range 200 gram, 2 for €3 or €2 each. And Emotivo Pinot Grigio was €10, now €7. Centra, live every day. Enjoy cost sensibly.
Every ultimate experience Ireland has to offer is always within reach with a 182 BMW. The ultimate bowl of chowder, seasoned with Atlantic salt air, the ultimate swim spot, even the ultimate scenic shortcut that happily takes way, way longer. Experience the ultimate with a 24-hour test drive from your local BMW retailer. Because owning your new BMW is always within reach. Visit bmw182.ie.
When summer comes, water calls. But water hides dangers. Cold water shock, slippery rocks, unexpected depths. In seconds, water can steal a life. I'm Liam Neeson for Irish Water Safety. This is National Water Safety Awareness Week. Let's bring the number of drownings in Ireland down. For tips and advice, visit iws.ie.
You said merci beaucoup instead of Gurav Magat in your Irish oral. Can never remember if Jerifor means sister or brother, and got your first shift at the Gaeltacht, so that'll always have a little place in your heart. Moron no biogan is cuma, is linny. Whether you speak a lot or a little this year is Blian na Gaelga supported by TG Car. And you have every right to say, Tá Gaelga agam. Celebrate Blian na Gaelga with TG Car. Sulela.
The World Cup. The biggest stage for upsets, passion and opportunity. Your gut says to take advantage of every game, and your smarts say where to go. Because Betfair have had the best odds on the World Cup, so you always get the most from your bet. Betfair, where gut instinct meets smarts.
Data provided by TX Odds and BetRadar, based on Betfair Sportsbook average match odds over round since the 12th of March 2018. Full terms at betfair.com, 18+, gambleaware.ie.
Hi, I'm Brendan Kavanagh, CEO of GDPRcourse.com. GDPR became law on Friday, May 25th. Are you worried that your business, volunteer organisation or club is at risk of being fined? We now run daily accredited GDPR practical implementation courses at our nationwide training facilities. This course gives members of your organisation tasked with GDPR the practical tools to implement and maintain GDPR compliance. Don't get ripped off by expensive consultants. Go to GDPRcourse.com.
Hi there. Here I am again at the 1933 Furniture Company in Navan. Well, you do have to get around to keep up with the latest styles and trends. And the 1933 Furniture Company is certainly worth the journey. Take their new range of Natuzzi sofas in soft Italian leather. Absolutely beautiful. From Parker Knoll and Neptune to Halo Living and more, you get real quality here at comfortable prices. The 1933 Furniture Company, Navan. Because good furniture is hard to find. Sale now on.
The wait is over.
Only the good die.
Billy Joel returns to Dublin.
Sing us a song.
Live at Aviva Stadium. Saturday, June 23rd. Extra tickets from $70.45 are on sale now.
Oh, what a shot! The Dubai Duty-Free Irish Open takes place this July. From the 4th to the 8th, Ballyliffin will play host to this incredible occasion. While Rory McIlroy and John Ram set the fairways alight, country music singing sensation Nathan Carter will headline our world-class music and entertainment programme. The perfect day out for the whole family. Tickets on sale now. Search The Irish Open.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
You're welcome back. Our Saturday panel will be up on offtheball.com shortly. That is the very best place to check out all the good stuff from Off the Ball, from OTB AM, any of the feature interviews. All go up on offtheball.com, so check that out. It is Belgium 4, Tunisia 1, and a free scoring Belgium 4-1. It could easily be 6 or 7 because there's been some brilliant goal line clearances from the Tunisian side, but yeah, they are a bit of a shambles, Tunisia. And Belgium are heading for a place in the last 16. Shane Hannon is back in with me. So what else is happening?
Yeah, so it's half-time in the All-Ireland Football Qualifier Round 2. That was the first game down at Fraher Field in Dungarvan. Half-time scores, Waterford 4 points, Monaghan 3 goals and 11 points. Conor McManus penalty, Carl O'Connell and then Fintan Kelly with the other goal there for Monaghan. So they'll lead by 16 points at half-time in that one. There is a pretty busy day of qualifiers actually all round. The later games, we see 5 o'clock is probably the biggest one, the tie of the round. Tipperary against Mayo at Semple Stadium in Thurles. As I said earlier, Lee Keegan making his first championship start this year at midfield for Mayo. Andy Moran and Jason Doherty also back in, and Colin Boyle set to make his 100th appearance for Mayo.
We had a text in from Mick in Thurles saying, lads, get real, it's not just Monaghan who have a small pick, so have Tipperary. Football's played in the south of the county only, hurling is the main game, so bigging up Mayo is easy for your boys. says Mick and Thurles, which is very, very true. What Tipperary football is doing is exceptional, is as a reward for an awful lot of really good work done over the last 7-8 years at underage level, from John Evans through to the current management team that are in place, and they're getting rewarded for that. And interesting, actually, listening to Niall Carew there talking about the Cork game, which wasn't live on the television, so again we only see 2-3 minutes of highlights, and you generally just see the pick of the scores, that actually Tipperary weren't as far off Cork as the scoreline suggested. They just had a really bad day in front of the post. So maybe if there is a touch of overconfidence in the Mayo squad, that this could be closer than some may expect.
I think the dual county argument is definitely a valid one. I mean, you look at Tipperary and the resources being stretched between the two. In Monaghan, it is literally football, football, football. We have a hurling team, but you're born and bred playing football in Monaghan, and it's the same with Kerry. I know Kerry's hurlers actually are playing to a decent standard as well, but when you have that dual county split, there's only going to be one way kids are going to head, and it's very hard to direct them elsewhere, you would imagine.
I don't want to say it's an impossible issue, but there are so many different strands to it. In terms of a lot of these counties that we're describing as football counties are struggling to even contend at a reasonable level at football, because the divide is becoming so great.
True.
So if money is going to be invested in some of these counties where football is the main sport, they're probably thinking, are we going to invest in hurlers, or are we going to invest in the footballers just to bring them to a level where they can compete even for provincial titles?
Yeah, I know. It's a tough one, but there's no solution to it. I mean, the money being pumped into, for example, Waterford, I'd love to see the percentage split between the money that goes to the hurling and money goes to the football. I'd say it's vast. Maybe they need a result like they got against Wexford in the last round of the qualifiers, first championship win since 2011. Maybe that's a kickstarter for actually the people who are in control of the funding and how it is split next year actually go, well, we got a championship win, maybe we need to put more money in that direction.
But so that would be helpful, but as the lads were touching on, you almost need somebody, and this doesn't happen in any sport really, or very few, where somebody goes, I'm going to have a 10, 20 year long-term plan where actually we're going to target the 6-year-olds who are starting in all the academies around the county. We're going to put a huge investment in there.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you're in Waterford, you're thinking, well, how much money do we need to invest, say for your 6-year-olds or 9-year-olds now, to make us competitive in Munster in 15 years' time? And even then, how far are we going to still be behind Dublin?
Yeah.
Whereas we could just keep throwing it at the hurlers and sure, they're getting closer.
Yeah, forever closer. But yeah, it's a tough one. There is no actual solution to it really, it seems. But the gulf in the last number of years has got so vast between the Dubs and everyone else, you would only hope that it can only narrow from here.
Well, I will remind you, Shane, that in last year's All-Ireland final they only won it by a single point, and that the previous year they were brought to a replay. But
fair.
You know, I just want to
fair argument.
Remind you of that.
Fair argument. And as I said, that Mayo side.
Failure or anything, but I'm just pointing that out.
These Mayo men.
Some teams are keeping up.
Mayo Tip is at 5, as I mentioned. The other game at the same time is Carlow and Tyrone. That's at Netwatch, Dr. Cullen Park. And then the first meeting in 11 years between Cavan and Down. That's at Brewster Park and Enniskillen. 6 p.m, Sligo against Armagh in the football qualifiers at Markievicz Park. Then there's 2 games at 7 p.m. Longford taking on Kildare at Pearse Park, and it's Leitrim against Louth at Park Sean McDermott. It's finals day as well at Crook Park. Big day for a lot of counties in hurling. The main event is the Christie Ring final between Kildare and London. That threw in at 2 p.m. It's now half time. Kildare leading by 1 goal and 9 points to London's 6 points. A little earlier, Sligo lifted the Laurie Maher Cup. They beat Lancashire by just a singular point in that game, 4-15 to 2-20, a very high scoring affair there. So it's Sligo that lift the Laurie Maher Cup. Then
Paul Leonard is in a similar position to a lot of people. Says, my head is all over the place. Kerry against Cork or Germany against Sweden at 7 o'clock. England, South Africa, or Tip Mayo, or South Korea, Mexico, all on this afternoon. I need some help.
We can't help you there, but they are excellent problems to have. Like, you're blessed to have all that stuff on.
So I think what you do is you try some sort of flicking between channels mode for Cork, Kerry and Germany, Sweden. And if Cork, Kerry is tight, you stick with that because it could turn out to be a really good game. But if Kerry are 5 points up after 10 minutes, you can relax in the knowledge that the game is done.
I think the answer to that question is how many devices do you have in your house and how committed are you to watching all of them? Because if you want, perhaps you can watch all of them.
Oh, you can. I tried that last Sunday. I spent, too much time on the couch last Sunday. There was a good 9-10 hour spell between the World Cup, the hurling, the football, the golf, and I spent a lot of time flicking and missing everything.
Yeah, you don't see everything well.
Sometimes you should just make a commitment
to one.
No FOMO, just make your commitment. And
Germany-Sweden, would that be your pick tonight?
I think I'd watch the first 10 minutes of Kerry Cork and then
the first 10 only?
Well, then you might have a sense of whether there's anything about this Cork
if there's a shock on the cards.
Exactly.
I saw someone tweeting earlier, Germany obviously needing the win tonight really to keep their hopes alive. They don't have a great history for second matches at tournaments. So in Euro 2008 they lost their second game 2-1 to Croatia. World Cup 2010 they lost 1-0 to Serbia. Euro 2012 was different, they actually won 2-1 against the Netherlands. The last World Cup in 2014 they drew 2-2 with Ghana. 2016 the Euros they drew 0-0 with Poland. Confederations Cup, if you want to count that, drew 1-1 with Chile in their next game, in their second game. So massive game in Sochi, and if that's anything to go by, I don't know. We'll not read too much into that, but a huge game for them tonight.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes. We're going to talk to a journalist covering the German camp a little bit later on, just after 4 o'clock, to see what the reaction has been to that defeat to Mexico, just how much stress and strain there is among the players and how much pressure is on Yogi Low heading into this game, and whether it was just a slow start and actually this is all going to come together, or maybe, as John Giles was saying on Thursday night, they just don't have the players. And I know, get your text in, 53106, you're going to say they do have the players, look at the talent that is in there. But maybe a lot of that, with Mesut Ozil, players like that, is overhyped, and actually Mesut Ozil is continuing his Arsenal form.
I saw Stefan Effenberg speaking earlier in the week about, he basically said Love needs to drop Ozil, bring in Marco Reus, and that's it. Forget all this talk about Ozil and just drop him, get it done. And you know, Reus plays well at big tournaments. He's came back from injury earlier in the year, but to actually just have the balls to make that move and drop a player like Ozil who isn't on form. But it is a tough call for Love, you'd imagine. I'm going to go to golf next. Nathan, Rory McIlroy is in contention heading into day 3 of the Travellers' Championship. The Northern Irishman is 7 under par and 3 shots off leader Brian Harman in Connecticut. Brian Harman's second round of 66 took him into the lead on 10 under, 1 shot clear of fellow Americans Russell Henley and Zach Johnson and Australian Matt Jones. Padraig Harrington went round yesterday in 69 to move to a tie for 17th on 5 under, with Seamus Power a further 2 shots back on 3 under par after a 67 yesterday to follow up his opening 70. McIlroy tees off his third round at around 6:15 p.m. Irish time this evening, with Harrington off an hour earlier. We've mentioned the World Cup already, but I'll remind you of the fixtures. Today's opening game, Belgium against Tunisia. It's now 5-1 to Belgium.
Michy Batshuayi has just scored for Belgium. He's missed about 3 or 4 sitters in the last 5 minutes alone, but he has just got his goal, and Belgium are crushing this Tunisian side and have looked very, very impressive. It's Thursday night, 7 o'clock kickoff for their match against England, but it looks like they're clicking. It looks like maybe this golden generation of Belgian players are finally going to deliver on the biggest stage. So 5-1 up against Tunisia, and they are just into injury time in that game.
We know what it's like to be on a back end of a drubbing to Belgium in a tournament. We won't go there then, bring up bad memories. The day's opening, so that was the day's opening game. Germany-Sweden then is at 7 p.m. in Sochi. Elsewhere in Group F, Mexico can take a big step towards the last 16 with victory against South Korea. That's at 4 p.m. in Rostov-on-Don. South Korea, of course, losing their first game. And I'll finish up on the rugby as well. Earlier, of course, Ireland clinching a first Test Series win down under since 1979. They had led 12-9 at half-time, and Ireland clinching it 2016 in the end. Johnny Sexton boot. We have him to thank for a large part of that game, really. CJ Stander got the try, and it was quite tight at the end, but they got there. They got over the line, and Joe Schmidt has been speaking after the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's still so many people in the ground. It's testament to how hard players tried from both sides to get the result tonight, and it was no different in the previous 2 tests. You know, we'll be forensic on the back of the video and have a decent look. But I think a heck of a lot of it tonight was character. You know, to get up off the ground, they laid siege to our 22 in that second 40 minutes. Maybe we should have got a little bit more out of our first half. There was a couple of times I felt we got very, very close and didn't quite convert. I thought Moore went very close going for the posts. We got the penalty out of that, but we couldn't quite get the try that we needed. Great line-out drive to finally get that try, to get that points differential that we needed. And the Wallabies came back, and they came back in waves. And I think it's a credit to guys, young Jordan Lama on again, and having to work really hard. Geordie Murphy coming off the bench, Tyke Byrne. Those guys having to come into what was a real furnace, and they came out the other side. And let's hope, that furnace develops the diamonds we need.
What exactly does it say about this Irish side to win a Grand Slam this season, and then follow it up at the end of an extremely tiring season with a series success against a superpower like Australia?
Yeah, it goes back to the provinces. They do a great job looking after the players. They manage them well enough that they can keep a bit of juice in the tank. I'm not sure we can play again next week. I think all that juice is used up after that half. But, I think they do a great job building the base, and then we try to top that off with just a little bit of detail, organisation, and just plain effort that these boys just keep putting in.
Yeah, you talk about the character, but what is it that the coaching staff, yourself included, does to bring that character into this side? Because before this coaching team arrived, Ireland weren't winning Grand Slams and weren't beating Australia away from home.
Yeah, look, maybe we didn't have this generation of player. Maybe that's part of it. I would take my hat off to the coaching team. Simon Easterby, that's his try. The forwards, they put it on for him. But he did all the work for that line-out try. Greg Feek, we repaired the scrum from the first test and we hung tough. Richie Murphy's done a great job. We nail our goals. Andy Farrell, our defence was superb. And so I've got a great team. Jason Cowman makes sure that they're fit enough to do the job. Great medical team. And our analysis team of Mervyn Murphy and Vinnie Hammond, they do a great job. So, I think it is very much a collective effort. Right, even to the nutritionist, she cops a lot of flack from the boys who are very fussy about their food, but they get a hell of a well fed, and Ruth does a great job of that. Logistics were great, apart from the bus, which we couldn't do much about tonight. It took 13 minutes to get here yesterday. It took over 30 minutes to get here tonight. So we're a little bit behind the 8 ball, but we didn't look ruffled when we started. We got straight into the game. It's the first of the 3 games where we went 3-0 up. It's the first time we scored first. That gives a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, an incredible game in Sydney, and we have loads of reaction and analysis to come in the next hour. Andy Dunn is going to join me in studio, and we'll have Matty Williams on the line as well.
New Zealand in the earlier game this morning, they beat the French 49-14. That completes the series. Whitewash for them, 3-0. The game wasn't without controversy. New Zealand's 32nd minute first phase attack ended with out-half Damien McKenzie going underneath the post for a try. That gave New Zealand their 3rd try of the game. That put them 21-14 ahead. And on replay, Irish referee John Lacey, as we mentioned at the top of the show, acted as an unwitting obstruction to French scrum half Baptiste Serran as he attempted a tackle on McKenzie. So a bizarre result there for that try, but New Zealand did finish them off quite handily in the end, 49-14 the final score. I'll give a halftime score as well for the ladies' Munster football final. That's at CIT this afternoon. The halftime is Kerry 2 goals and 6 points. Cork 1 goal and 4 points, Nathan.
All right, thanks for that. So the World Cup very much underway. Belgium have beaten Tunisia 5-2. One of the most entertaining games of the championship so far. But Curry's PC World want to get you closer to the action. Their exclusive Get Your TV for Free promotion means that there is a 1 in 20 chance to win your cash back when you buy a TV 55 inches or larger. Nothing beats watching the big game on a big screen. And with Ireland's largest range of TVs and all the best brands, Curry's PC World has you covered. Today, once again, we're giving away an incredible, a beautiful, I really want one, a 55-inch Samsung 4K Ultra HD curved LED TV. I don't have 4K Ultra. I think I have HD, but I don't have curved.
I like the curved thing. I've never seen a curved TV.
Oh, nice. It means that, so, in your sitting room, so generally you're sitting straight in front of your TV.
Yeah.
But it means you can sit in the side and you still don't miss anything.
That's incredible. If you had that mixed with surround sound, I think you're pretty much there. You're basically at the World Cup.
Listen, you can make do with the 55-inch Samsung 4K Ultra HD curved LED TV, and you can win it by identifying our World Cup mystery voice, who has captured most Irish fans' thoughts on all the hype around England.
To be fair, I don't care.
Not the laughter. The guy who's saying, to be fair, I don't care. Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We'll announce the winner later on in the show. Get closer to the World Cup action this summer with Off the Ball and Curry's PC World. We're going to take a quick break, then we're going to Russia to talk to Kevin Kilbane. We've got Andy Dunn and Matt Williams on Ireland winning a test series in Australia for the first time since 1979.
Join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you running low on office supplies?
come to huntoffice.ie, Ireland's #1 online destination for office products and a whole lot more. Now, offering over 100,000 products at the lowest prices with next day nationwide delivery. Why shop anywhere else? Pay us a visit today. You'll be surprised at what you might find. Huntoffice.ie, for all things office.
You're in the market for 182, but which 182 is the right choice for you? You need a car that's reliable and efficient, but you want sleek design and incredible performance, all at a price that you can handle. And there's one German brand that ticks all those boxes. Opel, the smart choice for your 182. And when you choose Opel, we give you even more choice. Choose 0% PCP or HP finance, up to €5,000 scrappage across the range, or 5 years free servicing. An exciting and reliable new car that comes with an impressively generous 182 offer? Well, that's just the German in us. Visit your local Opel dealership for more. Opel, the future is everyone's. Terms and conditions apply.
Does your office need a facelift? A new look reception area? A modern open plan office layout? Perhaps some stylish new glazed partitions? Or a cool staff canteen? Not sure where to start? Whatever your need, Hunt Office Interiors has the expertise to guide you. With showrooms in Dublin, Limerick, Cork and Belfast, why not talk to our team about transforming your office environment? Contact Hunt Office Interiors today for a free consultation. Call us on 1890 77 1100 or email interiors@huntoffice.ie. Hunt Office, for all things office.
It's one of the great London derbies and it's coming to Dublin. Arsenal versus Chelsea, Aviva Stadium, Wednesday, August 1st. See the stars of two of the Premier League's leading teams as they do battle in the International Champions Cup. Tickets on sale now from Ticketmaster.ie. Booking fee applies. Don't miss out. Get your tickets early. Arsenal v Chelsea, August 1st. Kick-off 8:05 p.m.
Bruce Betting are one of Ireland's leading bookmakers. Download the iOS app today to see why Bruce Betting are giving you more for World Cup 2018. Bruce Betting, your World Cup bookmaker. In-store, online, and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
As a first-time buyer, you're ideal for your family's unwanted furniture. There's your mum right now, looking at the cat on the old sofa thinking, it'll be a nuisance to get rid of that thing. And she's not talking about the cat. Well, at Ulster Bank, our new First 5 mortgage has 5